Sunderland FC are known to be one of the most iconic clubs in English football, and after their shock promotion this season, how did they get here? This is team 2 of explaining the entire history of the Premier League. We're doing this with every single team, so if you want to see yours, make sure to subscribe. We're going to go back to 1879. Sunderland was founded by schoolmaster James Allen and was meant to be just for school teachers. However, the year after, it was renamed the Sunderland Association Football Club and was now open to more than just teachers. They joined the Football League in 1890, where they found quick and early success, winning the title 3 times in their first 5 years and being nicknamed as the team of all talents. The growing team needed a big stadium, so they decided to move to Roker Park in 1898, which had a capacity of around 30,000, a huge number at that time. They retained strong positions in the league and had 5 league titles before World War I hit, as all games were suspended. Games resumed in 1919, in which, like many clubs, Sunderland had to recover from the losses made during the war. Players were injured or killed and finances were very tight. The 1920s in general were a struggle for Sunderland. They didn't sit and fight for the top, neither were they in danger of relegation. They sort of sat in the middle for a few years. They did come dangerously close in 1927, surviving by just 1 point. However, they managed to regain their old form around the 30s and won their 6th title in 1936. They continued this winning mentality, winning the Charity Shield and the FA Cup within the next 2 years. They were back to being one of the best clubs in England. They had rejoined the elites in winning silverware year after year, but after World War II hit, the club would never be the same again. After football resumed in 1946, Sunderland were once again affected. Players and finances were limited, and they had to completely rebuild, entering what a lot of people call the Bank of England era. Sunderland became known as the Bank of England club post-war as they splurged the cash in an attempt to rebuild the squad and return to their glory like the 30s. They broke the record signing multiple times, and by the early 50s, they had one of the most expensive squads in England. With all this spending, they surely performed well, right? Well, not exactly. Sunderland finished 3rd in 1950, their highest finish since the 30s. Despite this, they massively underperformed. Criticisms came to light about how the club lacked discipline, and they had too many big stars that didn't work together as a team. But that wasn't the end of it, as 7 years later, Sunderland were to do something that would affect the entire club forever. In 1957, Sunderland were found guilty of making illegal payments to players that went over the salary cap. They were resultantly fined, with several club directors being suspended and even banned. The scandal completely damaged the reputation of the club and sent them into a downward spiral. The year after the scandal, Sunderland were relegated from the First Division for the first time in their 68-year history, marking the end of their dominant era. They struggled to escape from the Second Division due to there being no long-term plan. Managers were coming and going, with the players failing to work together. It was clear there was no easy way out of this, and that was evident as it took them 6 years to gain promotion back to the top division. But it wasn't like old times, as they failed to make any lasting impact. They rarely surpassed mid-table and wasn't really classed as a threat anymore compared to their golden years, and couldn't fight for trophies. It caught back up to them as they were relegated again in 1970, where it looked like they were gonna stay. They managed to shock the entire footballing world as they went on to win the FA Cup in 1973 as a second division team, the first to do it in over 50 years, and to this day, only 2 other teams have done it since, beating the likes of Arsenal and Man City, and then, most impressively, Leeds United in the final, who were classed as one of the strongest teams in Europe at that time. Despite this major win, they had tons of unaddressed problems that needed to be fixed. They temporarily went up and down between the first and second division across the late 70s and 80s. With a strong squad in 1982, they were expected to go back up to the top division, but instead, morale completely collapsed as they were relegated to the 3rd division, the lowest point the club has ever been. The club was in crisis. The manager fell out with the players and finances were tight. However, under new manager Dennis Smith, the team miraculously bounced back, going straight back up to the 2nd division, where they mostly remained until 1999, when they returned to the Prem with a record 105 points. The 2000s were seen as a very up and down decade for Sunderland. On one hand, they shocked everyone by finishing 7th place in their first season back, their best finish since 1955. They doubled down and did the same the next season before completely collapsing. They went from 7th to 17th within a season and were relegated the next. Fans felt betrayed after such a sharp decline. Mick McCarthy helped rebuild them in the Championship and won promotion back after a couple years. However, it didn't last long, as after a poor start, McCarthy was sacked and Sunderland went down once again, having the lowest points ever at the time with 15. After a bit more up and down, Steve Bruce secures safety for Sunderland in 2010. They were here to stay, but in true Sunderland fashion, that wasn't going to be easy. The Great Escape. Not once, not twice, not 3, but 4 times. The 12-13 season saw the club facing the strong chance of relegation. They brought in Di Canio in a shock decision to manage the team. He delivered 3 and helped them survive relegation, finishing 17th. In 2014, Sunderland were bottom with 6 games to go, having the likes of Man City, Chelsea and United to play. They miraculously managed to beat all 3 and then West Brom to safely secure against all odds. In 2015, a late season surge saw Sunderland escape relegation once again, finishing 16th. In 2016, the club were practically relegated before losing just 3 of their last 16 games and grasping survival thanks to Sam Arglais. It was incredible that they had held on for this long. However, their end was always coming, and in 2017, Sunderland finally collapsed and were relegated from the Premier League. It was all okay, as they were expected to bounce back quickly and return the next season. However, what was to happen next would ruin Sunderland forever. A disjointed and demotivated squad that had no real leadership and team qualities left Sunderland with a destructive season. The added factor of chopping and changing managers meant out of all odds they finished bottom of the Championship, dropping down to the 3rd division for just the 2nd time ever. The owner had withdrawn any financial backing and put the club up for sale. The club were in crisis, the lowest point they've ever experienced. But after the club was sold to Stuart Donald, a new rebuild was promised. It wasn't easy. They remained in League One for 3 years, losing out in the playoffs every single time, before finally beating Wycombe Wanderers in the final in 2022 to take them back to the Championship. After an unexpected first season finishing 6th, reality set in as they finished the next season in 16th, rotating between 5 managers in that 23-24 season. However, there was something new brewing. They had focused on a young squad. No quick fixes, but instead long-term solutions. It was going to take time, but when that time came, they would explode. The 24-25 season saw Sunderland get off to a strong start, topping the league table in 9 games. Despite their average age squad of 23, they managed to grasp a playoff spot in 4th. This was their chance at promotion glory once again. It wasn't going to be easy. Their form dropped off massively at the end of the season, losing all of their last 5 games. They faced an informed Coventry for a place in the final. After winning the first leg, all they had to do was defend their lead. It was tough as they eventually broke down, giving Coventry that much needed equaliser. But that was until the 93rd minute, when Daniel Ballard did the unthinkable.
Plenty of movement inside the box.
They had done it. They were 1 win away from making history and regaining a spot in the Premier League once again. However, they went up against Sheffield United, who were outright favourites to win. Sheffield quickly led, and it looked like time was running out for Sunderland. But then came a chance.
That's a lovely ball, and
They were back in it. All they needed was 1 more goal. The referee would blow the whistle as the game would go to extra time. Or that's what they thought. See, the game wasn't over yet. There were still 30 seconds on the clock. 30 seconds to do the unthinkable.
That's loose though by Moore, and it falls the way of Watson.